Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the Harvest Season. My name is Al.
And I'm Micah.
And we're here today to talk about cottagecore games. Woo!
Yay.
So excited.
It's still, as much as I have heard you say cottagecore games, it still always throws me off a little bit.
I keep bouncing between should it be cottagecore? Should it be farming? It's like I was running something over my head today. I was like, games that quite often have a farming component, but not always, and are sometimes considered cozy, but not always.
I think for me, it's because every time you have me on, we are talking about farming games specifically.
Yeah.
So,
you have a niche.
The core farming game groups, the Harvest Moons, the Story of Seasons,
exactly.
So.
The thing is, right, most people don't want to spend a lot of time on a lot of those games. I just want to go back to
Understandable. I am more than happy to bite the bullet for everybody else to be able to experience.
And this is the cheapest Harvest Moon game we've paid for in quite a long time. So okay, well, sure. We'll get to that. So before we get to that, we have news. We've got a bunch of news to talk about. Oh yeah, I didn't actually say we're going to talk about the new Harvest Moon game, Harvest Moon's Home Sweet Home. But we've got news before that. And first of all, Micah, what have you been up to?
I have been very busy. I have been very busy doing a few things. Work has been really crazy, and I love that. I love when I'm busy, so it's not a complaint, I love when my time is caught up and preoccupied, so it's great, but it has not left me a lot of time for games. So primarily what I have been playing has been Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that's because I just really keep up with whatever the events are. So if there is a raid, or if there is a mass outbreak with boosted shiny odds or something, that's kind of what my game time has been restricted to. I have, some personal projects that I've been working on too that are not work related, but they're also taking up a lot of time, which is great. And I'm really happy about that. There is one where I have had some time to be able to play some older Pokemon games. And I can't really say why yet, but I have been enjoying that.
I'm intrigued. I wasn't intrigued until you said you can't say why.
It is a big project that I've been working on for months now, and it is becoming it's one of those projects where you start and you're like, this is a really small fun idea, and then it just grows over time, and you're like, this is getting really out of hand, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to get a hold of this, but it's been really fun, and it has allowed me some time to do work and stay busy, but also play games, play some games. But primarily it's been Pokemon is what I've been playing. I did download, I bought and downloaded Fields of Mystria. I have not played it yet. I'm very excited to play it, but I haven't had a chance to touch it yet.
I haven't bought that one yet. That's on my list of, I will probably play this at some point, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had seen, the most buzz around a farming sim since, I think, maybe Stardew, in communities that were specifically excited about Stardew and that type of farming sim. So I that intrigued me enough to be like, okay, if people are recognizing it as not a competitor or anything, or the new Stardew or anything like that, but if there's enough interest there, then maybe it's something to look into. So, and I like the art style. I like the pixel art and stuff. So I guess we'll see. I've yet to play it, so I can't really say anything about it. But what about you? What have you been up to, and what have you been playing?
So other than obviously Harvest Moon Home Sweet Home,
yes.
I have been trying to get back into Coral Island after their 1.1 update.
Okay.
I haven't. Sometimes when you go back to a game, it takes a while to get yourself back into the zone.
Mm-hmm.
I spent over a month I spent 100 hours in Coral Island. So like, I'm not back at that point yet. But we'll see. I mean, that in and of itself will be interesting to talk about, when we get to that, if I don't end up. But
World's biggest Coral Island fan. As far as I know, at least.
I like it. It's a really fun game, but I think it's interesting because if I don't manage to push myself back into it, that says something, because I've managed to get obsessed about Stardew every single time I've gone back to it, and that, So
right.
If I can't, that says something, like I started a new save for 1.6 when it came out and got perfection for the first time on it. So
nice.
That's
awesome.
how obsessed I got over it last time. So we'll see.
I love that though. I love when you, that feeling of like finding a game that lets you do that, like lets you obsess over it in that way.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know why does it happen though? Why do I keep coming back to Stardew and keep playing it?
It's your comfort game, Same reason why probably I've watched, I don't know, The Office 18,000 times over. Not because it's like incredible, really, and not because a lot of the jokes, especially early on, are not like questionable.
Yeah.
Especially today, but just because it's got like I don't gotta think too hard about it. I just know what it is. It becomes a comfort thing.
Fair.
Stardew Valley is The Office. Let's not use that. Let's not draw that comparison. I apologize. I don't know why that made me think of it, but I have been looking at getting back into Pocket Camp 2 recently because I kind of want to see it off. I'd put a lot of time into it.
Are you going to buy
and money.
The offline version?
I don't, probably here and there. I think part of it is that there were so many events that I didn't feel like I could keep up with it as much. I will say, my wife Becky is devastated. She is, I think, probably the biggest Animal Crossing fan I know, like by far. And I would have said years ago, that's me. I am the biggest Animal Crossing fan that I know, but she has since taken that crown. She has never stopped playing New Horizons. She played New Leaf a ton. She played through, all of the previous Harvest Moons or Harvest Moons. God, I'm already in Harvest Moon brain. She's played through all the previous Animal Crossings, but she has been nonstop playing New Horizons, and I believe she's literally, it's Sunday, so it's her she calls it Goblin Day. She's literally out there playing New Horizons right now. But in addition to that, she has never stopped playing Pocket Camp. She has like thousands of hours, I would guess, in Pocket Camp, and there are people that she knows only through Pocket Camp that she's like sad that it's closing because she doesn't know these people outside of it. Like she's got
interesting.
hundreds of like friendship interactions where they trade gifts or they trade items or whatever in the game, but she doesn't know who these people actually are. So like when the game shuts down, that's just gonna go away, which is like an incredibly sad thing. But like how do you resolve that? Like what do you,
well, and being a Nintendo game, it's not gonna have like free text, so
there's no
have
social
a way to be able to
aspect
save
to it.
that.
Like broader social aspect to it that you can converse with the people outside of for good reason, right? Like for kids games, but also in situations like this, it's just kind of weird and sad and like an interesting thing. But yeah, so that has like touched me enough that I'm like, I kind of just want to go back and see it off and be there when it shuts down and stuff, because I've put so much time and unfortunately money into it. So
yeah, fair enough.
So that's next on the roster. But
speaking of mobile games, I have gotten back into Marvel Snap.
Oh, okay.
Quite a lot as well. Like I have put so much time into it the last couple of couple of months.
Yeah.
That I'm not quite at the top rank this season, but I'm close. And if I hit it, it'll be the first time I've hit it ever. So yeah, big.
What is the top
big.
rank in Marvel Snap? What's the
100.
the title for? Oh, okay.
What's the 100? Platinum, I think.
Okay.
I don't really pay attention to the names. I just pay attention to the number. Right, big number. Number go big.
Yeah. Number go big.
But I think it's
very
platinum.
exciting.
Oh no, it's infinite.
Infinite. Oh, okay. All right.
So yeah, I'm at like 83 just now. So
yeah, wow.
we're getting there.
I have heard nothing but good things about Marvel Snap from those who play it, but I've never touched it. So
it's I find it really fun. I like its simplicity, but also how complicated you can make it if you want to.
Sure.
Like I've got a deck that is like, if I get the right cards, basically unbeatable, but you have to have a different way to win as well, because you sometimes don't get those cards. So it's
gotta get those
it's fun.
Multiple win engines.
Exactly. So yeah, it's fun. I'm really
cool.
enjoying it. They added a lot of stuff while I wasn't playing it as well, so trying to get back into that and being like, oh, they've got these alliances and leagues and all these cards that I don't have because I hadn't unlocked them, etc. But it's good fun.
Awesome.
Cool. So that's what we've been up to. Now we're going to talk about some news. First of all, Let's Build a Zoo have announced a new update, the Monstrous Structures update. And this, it's like there's big balloons. It's interesting they call it the monstrous structures. I think it's basically just because there are two massive balloons as like decorations.
I do see in the images a giant warthog thing and a giant bear.
Exactly.
But that's the extent of what I see. As far as monstrous goes,
Well, exactly. There's a lot of quality of life improvements as well, but like the name seems to be entirely hinging on those two balloons.
Or just the concept that there's a lot of stuff, There's it's a big update, maybe. I don't know.
It's a lot of little things, I think, right? Like you can now rename animals is the first thing in the patch notes, right? Like that's not amazing. I mean, it's fine. It's good. Like I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not like this is a game changer.
Right. Yeah.
There's lots of quality of life improvements. So if you've been playing, enjoy those updates. If you haven't been playing because you couldn't rename your animals, now you can.
Or because there weren't giant monster balloons. That was a good time.
Yeah. Next we have Cat Cafe Manager 2, Big City Bliss. The Kickstarter is now live. Micah, have you seen this game yet?
I have not.
Had you seen the original Cat Cafe Manager?
I have not. I can't say that. What I should say is I have seen games that feel similar in that, I've been on the Switch eShop and there's a lot of games that look similar, I guess. But is this the original? Is this the OG Cat Cafe Manager?
That's a good question.
I like the art for this much better than all the other stuff that I see,
Yeah, it's quite a big difference to the previous game. So the previous one came out in 2022. And it's not like it looked bad, right? But it's different art style. I do prefer the newer one. It's very, I guess, shiny Paper Mario is how I would describe it.
Yeah,
this one, right? I like the look of it. It's interesting. So they seem to. I've noticed that they are planning on having like an actual story here in this one. Because I think the previous one didn't have that. So if you look at one of their updates on Kickstarter, they say Cat Cafe Manager 1 had a nice but fairly straightforward storyline. With the sequel, we're excited to introduce more complex characters, mysteries, and even somewhat of a villain.
Oh, a villain in my Cat Cafe?
Well, yeah, there you go.
There are a lot of things that could mean, and that scares me. They're
Yeah,
talking about like, adoptable
I'm intrigued to see what
animals. I'm worried
happens.
about who the villain is, but
We'll see. We'll see. I'm
it's
excited to
really
find out.
it is a very cute art style, though. I like it a lot. I do like that kind of flat 2D characters in a 3D space kind of thing. Obviously, things like Snacko and stuff like that. Paper Mario, like you said. I like that concept.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it looks really cool.
It hasn't hit its goal yet, but it's going to. Let's be honest. It's 32,000 of 40,000, so it's nearly there, and it's 26 days to go. So
I should clarify too. When I had said I've seen games similar to this, I don't mean art style, gameplay wise, stuff like that. More just like the branding of it feels like it felt very. Obviously, Cat Cafe Manager. It's very straight to the point.
yeah.
And I see a lot of like. I don't know, whatever tycoon, whatever, like manager, whatever. There's so many of those that I just, I could have seen this and I wouldn't know because I kind of,
So the first one does have an 84% Steam rating.
Wow.
Very, very positive.
Yeah.
With 1,500 reviews. So
That's
it's
awesome.
obviously some people liked it. So so that's good. And the fact that they've, successfully made a game before makes me much more encouraged about, backing a Kickstarter.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's not just one of these Skinner boxes that they've thrown together in a week and thrown on the eShop.
Right.
Which happens so often.
The AI art.
Yeah. Oh,
So much of it on there.
it's getting so much worse with that.
Yeah, they really got to get a handle on that. Never mind. I don't want to start to get riled up a little bit. I'll keep it brief. Nintendo made a big deal about not having, shovelware on their systems like they did with the Wii, and then they just instead opened up the eShop to literally everything. So
Yeah, and it's kind of it's a bit of a balance, right? Because I think it's important that we have open access
for sure.
to develop and share your games.
But maybe some level of regulation, like.
Well, this is the thing they do. It's not like with Steam where it's like you can literally just create it and launch it and that with no oversight.
Mm-hmm.
On the Switch, you have to go through a process where they approve it.
Right.
That's what's weird is how are they approving all this nonsense? They're clearly not approving it. They're just clicking the button. They're not actually looking at it. So why do they have the process there?
Or they
Why
have
do
some automated process that's relying on some artificial intelligence to be like, it checks these boxes, so it is approved.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they're just going, is it a game? Does it run? There you go. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Next, we have Super Zoo Story. They have announced that their Kickstarter goes live on the 1st of October.
Awesome.
It's just another zoo. It's another Zoo Tycoon game. Yeah, that's it. Am I going to play this game?
It's like a Zoo Tycoon game.
I don't know. So I will say, the one thing that makes me more interested in this is it does appear to be it's an RPG style game rather than a God style management game, and that interests me.
I agree,
because I am not a huge fan of management games, but I am a fan of RPG management games.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm also in that same boat where if it says Tycoon and it's got a you're kind of managing resources and filling a space and then making money, I'm not as interested in it, but the added RPG element sounds more interesting to me. Same way that was it Golf Story? To be fair,
Golf
loved
Story's
Mario
fantastic.
Golf. Loved, some of the more goofy golf games, non-traditional golf games. Big fan of those, but things like Golf Story, Sports Story, like that, where they add an RPG element to it, definitely makes it much more, exciting and more unique of an experience. So
yeah, I'm not a huge golf fan.
Oh, me neither.
I don't even mean in real life, right? Because that's a whole different discussion. I will rant about golf if you want me to, but I don't think we want to. But game wise, I like Mario Golf, and that's probably about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Golf Story, absolutely adored it. It was fantastic in so many ways. Like the actual golf was fun, but also it was just my kind of humor. The story was just enough to be interesting, but not too much that you felt completely overwhelmed. It was my perfect RPG, right? It was just enough RPG and just enough RP in my G. And yeah, Sports Story was good as well. A little bit rushed, but I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm probably going to play this one purely because it's, rather than the kind of, tycoon style game, it is an RPG style game. It'll be interesting to see how they balance that, obviously, because these things have to be on a much smaller scale because you're doing everything every time. And will there be some level of automation to that, like how, Stardew adds that in as you go? We'll just, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Next, we have a new update from Wildflowers, which came out a few days ago. This is the Magical Creatures update. And can you guess what this brings to the game?
I'm going to guess some magical creatures.
You are correct.
No way.
I know, imagine that.
Can I guess some of the magical creatures?
Go for it.
Unicorn.
I need to find if there's a list.
Okay, never mind. Abort.
Here we go. I can't see a unicorn.
Okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not there,
No, you're correct. I think they're trying to, not spoil everything. But what I do see is what looks like a cross between a tiger and an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like tiger legs, elephant head.
Don't know that I know that one.
But also the size of a small dog.
I do see that one. It is very cute, though. Your, description of it, a tiger with the head of an elephant just did not prepare me for what it looks like, and it is very
But that's what it is, though, right? Like,
it is. You're totally
right. You can't say I'm wrong.
But it's really cute. Yeah.
And then, like, some sort of lizard gecko type thing with chicken legs.
Chicken lizard. The classic
and then a Shiba Inu, of course.
Yeah.
It's like what makes that magical? I don't know. That's the main thing. There's other things as well. There's some more story about the lighthouse, and a bunch of quality of life improvements. But the interesting thing is they have said this is their final update.
Oh.
Dun-dun-dun.
Okay.
So this is
Kevin going to be okay?
Well, when I mentioned it to him, he said, "Oh, I guess I need to get back into the game then." So I think it's been a while since he's played it. So we'll see how he feels once he's actually played it.
Got it.
The update. Be interesting to see what the studio do next.
Yeah, definitely. Well. And now that they have got such a well-loved thing under their belt, yeah.
The moment you see from the makers of Wildflowers, you're like, okay, I'm paying attention.
Yep.
So next we have possibly one of the weirdest things I've seen in a while, and this is Bokumono Life and Love, which is a Gmod phone game from a long time ago that has been ported to Steam and Switch.
I cannot tell you how happy I am about this. For a couple reasons. Just also, for full clarification, it is not in English.
Yes.
There is no English for this. It is a straight up port of the Japanese phone game. That's it. They're not doing anything else with it.
The good thing is the Steam page does make that very clear. Like, it's above the buy button, it says English language not supported in red letters.
There is, it looks like, it says partial controller support, but it looks like there are controller controls. Like, I see like L and R buttons in the screenshots and stuff like that. So, there's not you won't need some T9 cell phone flip phone peripheral to control the game or whatever. It's just it is straight up that port though, and I love that. There are a couple reasons why I love that. One, really really dumb, right? Really unexpected, weird, bizarre decision from Marvelous. Great, I love it. But also because there are so many lost media games that are caught in this Gmod
Yeah.
old Japanese phone game, that like maybe this opens the door for more of those to
Well, that's an interesting question.
Be released like this.
Are they going to make this technology that they've clearly built as a, an emulator or whatever? I don't know what exactly they've done, but something. Mm-hmm. Are they going to be able to share that with other people? Like, that would be good. That would be really cool.
Right. Definitely. Well, the other positive there is that even just releasing the game gives way to a lot of really brilliant people in the homebrew community to be able to dissect it and figure out what they did as far as, emulation goes, and maybe be able to just find a way to port some of that stuff themselves, or I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities here for some really interesting and really cool like lost games to be able to show up again, which is really exciting.
So it looks like they're not the first people to do this. So it looks like Gmod themselves released a bunch of games on Steam a couple of years ago. So maybe this is because of this, like maybe that technology has then been used in this situation.
Mm-hmm. There are also some on the Switch as well.
Yes,
but this I think is the like most popular franchise. I could be wrong about this, but I think this is the most popular franchise.
I don't think you're wrong. I think saying that a Bakemono game on a really niche Japanese phone brand is possibly the most popular game on that. I believe you.
Yeah,
I think probably.
I think that's possible to. At least that's my impression, right? Is that like that's, we're in a world now where like being able to people may be more aware of it now as being a thing. I know that there was a Persona game that is what I was just about to say. Year. I have immediately changed my opinion on that when I saw on their list that Persona 3 is one of them. Yeah, well, it's a Persona. It is like such a like small. I don't know. Maybe where is the the like chart that shows the growth between like Persona fan base and the like Harvest Moon fan, the Story Seasons fan base, because I feel like prior to Persona 5 that was definitely not like the I don't know. Either way,
but I feel like people are going back to the older games, especially with 3 getting its Switch release.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people are going back to the older ones. Where they started with 5.
It is a huge franchise now for sure. I just don't know if like how big is the how big is the Harvest Moon name? How big is the
and it's more complicated, obviously, because like the name. In Japan, right? Is as big as it has ever been, but like, what does the main name mean over here?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't use either name because obviously they don't have an English name for this, right? They obviously would be calling it Story of Seasons if they had, but then it would be like, because it's a port. They've not done a port, right? So this is the weird thing. They've not done a port. So actually, that's not true. I guess they did. They did the original Harvest Moon on Nintendo Switch Online, didn't they? And they called that Harvest Moon. They didn't call that Story of Seasons.
True, yeah.
So maybe they would, and maybe they would call this Harvest Moon then if they released it in the West. What I find interesting is they're about this game. They have an English description of this game on Steam.
Right, like it is on the American Steam store. Like it is accessible.
Even it's not just that, it's you can read, like it says enjoy a heartwarming and this isn't auto-translated in Chrome or anything. It just says enjoy a heartwarming farm life while growing crops and interacting with animals. This title is a port of a title released in 2007 for feature phones in the popular series, which has been developed for numerous hardware platforms. It simultaneously includes For Boy, in which a boy is the main character, and For Girl, in which a girl is the main character. Funny that they decided to just add them both and just like smash them together into one game.
I'd be curious too, like how that plays it. Like, is it just a selection, right? Do you just
I suspect
select which game it is, or is they kind of just like blend them together? Yeah,
like I
can't imagine there's a lot.
They've not changed it.
Yeah, development going on in there.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess between Persona and this, and Persona happening within a year, almost a year to date, I think. No, it's September 23rd.
The Gmode one.
But yeah, either way, the fact that bigger games now are getting these like Gmode ports is kind of exciting. So
there's a
I don't know. Even beyond Gmode, there are other mobile games from that time period that are just like completely lost. That it would be great to be able to see some of that stuff.
I go
this route. So
I agree. I look forward to playing Gregory Horror Show, which is another one, which comes out in October. All right. Can't believe we spent that much time talking about a Gmode game.
I mean,
what is this podcast? Finally, before we get into, we've got a few new games to talk about, but before that, we have a board game based on Micah and the Witch's Mountain that's coming to Kickstarter.
Could not have expected that, honestly.
No. I don't really know what to say.
I don't either.
Yes, I'll probably buy it. Stop asking. It's with the interest. So, okay, I have my brain's doing the brain thing. It's called Delivery Witches, right? But so it's not branded Micah on the Witch's Mountain or anything like that. But it's very definitely Micah, right? Like it's the same art. Chibig shared it on their Twitter, so it's like very clearly in collaboration with them, and
same fonts,
and all the characters are the same. They've got all their art, etc. Like it's very much, it is the Micah and the Witch's Mountain game. They just didn't call it that,
right.
Which is fair, I guess. Like you don't have to call it the same thing, but I just find it interesting.
Yeah, it is. I guess I didn't even think about I think if I had seen this on its own, without you telling me, and without drawing that association, I probably would have been like, this looks really familiar. But it just seems weird that like they wouldn't do something to like further. I don't know. Maybe that's enough for. I just don't know if that game has the popularity to be able to say like, oh, it is very loosely referential to it, but that's enough for people to know that it's based on this game, right? Like it's not. I don't know. I could see that with other franchises, but maybe not.
I think what I find weird is like there's not a single mention of the game or the game developer on this Kickstarter page so far. Now, granted, it's quite small, like they've not gone live, but they still have like 5 paragraphs of text, and not once does it mention that it's based on a game. And the company that's making it is not the same, right? They've obviously been farmed out to another company that makes games.
But it is you said it like, how is the developer related though, other than?
Well, presumably they own like the art, because it is the same characters, right? They've used the same character art that you see in game. Yeah,
well, I just meant not in that way. I meant like, how is other than say the Chibig retweeted it or something, like what is their is there any other relation to, like, if they said we're collaborating with them? I guess I do see.
Yeah, I think they made it clear that it was a collaboration.
Okay. I
guess what I know, I'm not trying to say that it's as popular as Stardew, but it would be like if the Stardew Valley board game came out and they called it Farming Game. Right? Like, it would just feel weird.
My immediate reaction would be like, they're ripping off Stardew Valley. Not like, it's a Stardew Valley game, but they're calling it something else.
Exactly, and there's nothing that makes it clear on this Kickstarter page, this is an official collaboration.
And that's why I was asking, how were they related to this, other than, like, But obviously they have co-signed on it because they're sharing it, and, like, the art, like, if it weren't theirs, they would probably be in litigation with them or something, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Like, it's not even, like, close.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's very it's a very pretty looking board game. Like everything looks cool. Some of the like card effects and stuff look neat. The character pieces are really really cute. I like almost want to get in on it just for the little what do you call those little guys from the?
You can't call them meeples anymore.
You can't call them meeples anymore?
Oh, did you not hear this news?
No, I did not.
Sidebar. So,
Sidebar.
Carcassonne, trademarked meeple, and they're suing anybody that uses the name now.
Oh,
so let me
find
out what they. It's very stupid. What is the name that people have kind of agreed that they should call it instead? Oh, apparently it's not been trademarked in the US, so maybe people will just continue to use the word meeple and make their games in the US.
Obviously they're trying, so.
Can't remember, because there was one in particular. So it's an EU trademark meeple, because Carcassonne are German.
Mm-hmm.
And what? Oh yeah, so this was so a company was making a game called Meeple Inc. and they were sued by Carcassonne, so they're now calling it Tabletop Inc. And
leave it to a lawsuit to ruin the fun for everybody.
I know, it's so like, seriously, nobody is confusing their game with Carcassonne just because it says Meeple. Like, come on.
No, I don't think so.
I can't see anywhere
what do we call these? Meekles. Because Micah
which pull?
Which pull? We'll call them meeples with the asterisk that it's spelled M-I-P-L-E because Micah and the
Meekles. Yeah, okay, right. I get you.
They're really cute though. That's probably my favorite part of this whole thing. Like, they're very cute game pieces. And I hope that they don't get sued by.
Well, they're not using. I don't see meeple being written anywhere, and I don't think they're trying to like trademark the concept of having a meeple. It's just the name.
Not yet, at least.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
It opens the doors for the next thing, the next litigation. This is interesting though. This is such a strange thing, like a strange decision. Maybe part of it is like that they are working with this team and they want to give them, because that team is like working as hard as they are in this game and everything, they're giving all of the they're setting it up in a way so that Undigital owns the rights to this without having to there being any question about who owns the rights to their game that they're working on, because it's related.
I'm sure they've got. I'm sure they have all their legal things in a row, right? Like, it's not like they launched this. They announced it on the same day. It looks like on Twitter. Like, it's very clearly done together. So I'm sure they know what they're doing.
Oh sure, I just mean that that would be a positive thing to if they had given them the had them just change the name so that in the future there was no potential for any possible legal issues or something, and they could just claim all of the rights to this board game and the profits and whatever without having to answer to Chibig or whatever, which would be a cool thing for Chibig to do, be able to say hey, just this is yours, you make all the money from it. But who knows? I don't know what the decision was to do this, but I've
fallen into a deep dark hole of trademark stuff now. It looks like the EU trademark doesn't actually cover toys and games, but there's
for meeple?
But there's a Germany trademark that does cover them.
Oh, what?
So I don't. So can you? Oh, I'm so confused. What have I done? Why have I started reading this? Okay, right. No, we're done with that. Right. Anyway, game, the Kickstarter isn't live yet. You can go and save it if you want to get notified when it goes live. Link will be in the show notes. All right. We have a few new games as well. So a new My Time At game, My Time at Evershine, is coming out. The Kickstarter is launching sometime this month. You want another My Time game?
Yes, I do. I
Okay.
do, because I think that my time at Porsche was such a, like, what do they call it, bottled lightning or whatever, for what it was at that time, which was, a time shortly after Stardew Valley's, like, massive success, and shortly before the boom in farm sim type, like life sim type games.
Yeah.
And I think that there were a lot of really positive things about my time at Porsche, but I think my time at Sandrock, on the other hand, was not what I would have wanted it to be or would have expected, and just personally not for me. So I'm interested to see.
Did you play it? Did you play Sandrock?
No, I did not. I from listening to and watching things and seeing how the game played, and especially after the My Time at Porsche port,
Yeah.
I made the conscious decision not to. But just because I didn't think that it was really for me. But I'm excited to see, like, clearly they're capable, right? That's what I'm getting at, is, like, they're a very capable studio, and they have some really great ideas. I think there were a lot of really awesome ideas that My Time at Porsche had that just maybe weren't as, like, fleshed out as they could have been, especially now that we have had this boom of, farm sims and life sims and stuff that have, made a lot of differences in how these games are played and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what they can do with more games. Like, I'm always interested in seeing, a talented developer make new stuff. So
Yeah. So, I mean, just looking at
this
some
also
numbers on
looks
Steam.
different.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they continue on and what they don't. I mean, to me, Sandrock always looked just like the same game, but slightly more, and I was like, I'm not interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
But so looking on Steam, so they both have very, very positive reviews. So we're ignoring Switch, right? The Switch debacle, we're just ignoring that, right?
Yeah.
These things happen.
Yeah.
They should just not. The So Porsche had 33,000 reviews and Sandrock had 20,000 reviews, but Porsche's
Wait, how many did Porsche have?
33,000
That's
versus
so
20,000.
That's way closer than I would have thought.
Yeah, but interestingly, their all-time peaks of concurrent players, Porsche was 13,000, 1-3, and Sandrock was 21,000. It was higher.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think people knew that, by the time that Sandrock came out, people had already known Porsche so well and had been, like, preaching it, that I guess maybe even beyond what Porsche was, people were more excited about it or interested in it. I don't know. I remember the conversation around My Time at Sandrock being, like, people were very excited about it. I think a big part of it for me was that I'm not a, like, humongous fan of the Southwestern American motif in games.
Fair.
I get really, really bummed out when I get to the point in games where it's like, okay, now you got to do the desert level, and I'm like, I don't wanna do that. And it kind of looked like Porsche, but in that setting and with the whole game is a desert level, basically, is what it felt like. So and it looked like a lot of the same. I mean, obviously a lot more, but it looked like a lot of the same of what Porsche had, that I was kind of like, I'll just play Porsche, like.
Yeah, you're still essentially a builder, right? Like, it's the same core loop of building things,
right,
which, if you like, that's good. I really didn't like, so I'm obviously not going to like it when it has the same core mechanic that I didn't like.
There is also something about the character design that I didn't really love in Porsche or Sandrock.
Mm-hmm.
But I was more, like, forgiving, obviously, with Porsche, because it was such a, like, at the time, it was a, kind of, like, unique and exciting thing, where now this is a little bit more common of a game, like a game style and stuff like that. So but it's just, I don't know, there's something about the character design that I didn't really love. And I think for the new thing, what is it, My Time at Evershine? the character design looks so different and like
well, so we just have
more
one
aged
image
up.
to go by, right?
Right,
Just to
right.
just to point that, like, this could, because if you look at, for example, the original image that was released for what was that game you were talking about before? Why have I forgotten the name of it? The one you've bought but not played yet.
Oh, Fields of Mystery.
Yeah, Fields of Mystery. If you look at the original image, that does not look anything like the game.
Yes, you're right.
So
Absolutely
you
right.
can't rely on that first initial image. But yes, it does look very different to the actual art style of Portia and Sandrock. So maybe that's gonna do something different. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I should say contextually, the looking at the key art illustrations they've had for Portia and for Sandrock, the character design in those has matched what the character design is roughly, like proportions and facial facial features and stuff like that. So again, yeah, we don't know. There's only one image. We don't know what the game actually looks like, but based on that, contextually, this feels like it's going to be a little bit more aged up, a little bit more mature looking, maybe feeling. So I that on its own intrigues me, that it's, kind of taking like a little bit more serious tone with this key art. So we'll see. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's exactly the same.
We'll see.
And I've been played, but
if we're going to overanalyze this one image that we have, because why not? It's fun. I'm also getting fantasy vibes from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's a floating island. There's a very prominent tree behind, like, people with, swords and wispy flowing hair and cloaks.
Classic Yggdrasil tree. I say that as a Dragon Quest fan that's like, the Yggdrasil tree is a, whatever, but
it's giving Rune Factory. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, it does feel like that. There is some like weird, maybe this is something that existed in Sandrock and Portia that I just didn't, probably more in Sandrock because I don't remember this in Portia at all, but there's some elements of like a like feeling like a military vibe to it. Like there's a guy with like a military captain hat, whatever that is.
I was just assuming he was a train driver.
And then the cape on the central figure in the background has got kind of like looks like some sort of emblem on it. It kind of feels like there's like Attack on Titan sort of like military type of vibe to it.
Possibly. We've also got like superhero vibes on the character at the bottom middle with like, the mask.
The mask. And there's like a professor, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and then you got the farmer, clearly. And I don't know how to describe this other than just like Persona dude in the middle.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, he looks a little bit like Joker.
He looks confident and cocky and young and handsome. And that's,
Yeah, there's a lot happening here, but almost no information.
That's it. And also the character next to him, she has a flower in her hair or a clip in her hair that matches the scarf on the male character. So maybe those are two main characters. This is completely useless speculation that we're both doing, but I will be really excited to see how close we were when we get more information about this game.
Yeah. Well,
it's something,
if we're going to do it, we're going to go all in,
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. We'll cover it more when the Kickstarter launches. We'll see what happens. Next, we have Dreamland Farm. There's no gameplay footage for this game at all. So I know nothing really, but there's a blurb. Since childhood, you've dreamed of being close to nature, but being born and raised in a busy city stood in the way of that. The closer you were to childhood... Sorry, am I sounding bored reading this out? The closer you were to adulthood, the more time you spent with your grandma, who showed you all around her farm. From crops to berries and mushrooms, everything she taught you. She prepared you to be her successor. Now you can step into those shoes and start... Look, it's a farming game, right? Like, it's the Stardew intro, like... But there's nothing. There's no There's no gameplay at all.
I will say there are 3 comments on this. This is a YouTube video announcement. And all of them are pretty much, all 3 are basically saying no gameplay. Where's the gameplay? However, the publishers replied to them and has said, we'll show it off soon. One person said, still shots with text is pretty lazy. Dunno if visual novel. And they replied and said, it is not. So there's at least that info. That it is not a visual novel.
I'm going to be honest, I wasn't thinking it was.
I wasn't thinking it was either, but it's good of them to clarify, I guess.
My assumption is Stardew Clone. We'll see whether it's more than that or not.
I should say I think they're like questioning that because the trailer is basically like slideshows with text, so it felt there is, it's. I can see where they draw that, but yeah, I didn't think that either. But at least we know it's not,
Part of the problem is there aren't very many people who can go, here's the most ridiculous, uninformative teaser, go crazy, and people are excited about it. Concerned Ape did it with Haunted Chocolatier. Right. Gave us basically no information and was just like, here's one screenshot, I'm making a thing. And people went crazy for it. Most games companies can't do that. So that's where they're kind of like, they don't want to give away too much all at the beginning, but the problem is you need to actually get people excited for it.
Can I say a very short thing about the publisher for this? I feel like maybe this is necessary to temper expectations. The publisher's Red Deer Games.
Have you heard of them before?
They are very good about publishing like indie titles that I feel like probably would not get an opportunity otherwise. Like they give a lot more opportunities to indie titles to be published by them. But they are notorious on the Switch eShop for being the have you ever seen the games that have like it's an ultimate edition and then you see the same game like 2 weeks later on the eShop? And now it's it's in the new releases as a extra ultimate edition. That is Red Deer. They are notorious for that. And it is just I don't know. It irks me because it feels so like disingenuous to just throw like a new thing on it with like a couple new added features, and rather than like it's a content update or something, they put it out as a like new release. It just doesn't, it feels weird and not great, but
equally it's the offset, a really bad place with lots of difficulty actually getting anything sold, so it's a complicated thing.
Right. And the other side of that being that like everything that they're doing is like indie titles, and they're I guess I don't know what their cut is, like what they're getting or what some games like Sprout Valley was published by Red Deer, if you remember Sprout Valley.
I do.
Yeah, I don't. There's been some good ones. There was another.
So it looks like they did Above Snakes as well, which is they published that.
Okay.
Which is interesting, and also Garden Buddies.
Yes, Garden Buddies. That's the other one that I was thinking of that I couldn't recall. That was the other one.
Which I think Garden Buddies is. I think people like it. I've not played it.
I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's I don't know. There's just. I jumped on the eShop just while we've been talking just to see. I had to scroll like down 3 like rows of games to get to one, and I already found it. I already found Red Deer. I mean, it's like their whole backlog is just like tons of these games that they just like keep repackaging as new. Little Mouse's Encyclopedia was one of theirs, which a great game, very cute, very fun. But yeah, there's just like, but then they have things like Hentai Golf, Happy, it's just all over the place. So I don't know. I guess take with that what you will. There's something about the Red Deer Games publishing process that just doesn't feel right to me, and I would love to know more about it. So I guess
Yeah.
just take that with what you will for Dreamland Farm, because it is a Red Deer Games published game. So
Next we have Danchi Days. And they call themselves, I'm going to try not to vomit while saying this phrase, a post-cozy slice of life game. I don't know what that means. What does post-cozy mean?
I don't know, but I love that.
I don't... Oh...
I love that we're at the point where we just gotta make up terms.
It's like postmodern. I just... No.
Yeah.
Can we not? Like, there are other words. Just make up a word. Right? Don't take a word... Oh.
Just putting this out there, just quick assessment. Maybe post-cozy means there has been the period of, like, coziness in this world where nothing has been going wrong. There's no, whatever. And now this is the post-cozy era where maybe there is something that's going to happen that's, I don't know.
Who knows? Anyway, let me get through this sentence.
Okay.
A post-cozy slice-of-life game about sensing the world, exploring the internet, and reviving the summer festival of a Japanese danchi (brackets housing complex). Fans of Hamtaro, Moon, Boku no Natsuyasumi, I always struggle with that one, will find something both nostalgic and novel.
I'm so excited for this. I'm very excited for this.
They've talked about what post-cozy means. Right, okay, post-cozy. What is this? They've just someone said, what is post-cozy? And they've replied with a quote tweet of an image of a tweet of a screenshot of a Discord message.
Incredible. I love them. I love this.
No, okay, goodness me, right, okay.
Somebody on their Discord, one of the developers, said it in Discord. Somebody then screenshotted that.
Yep.
Then posted it to Twitter. Somebody else then screenshotted that and then replied to the original developer who's in the Discord screenshot, and they took that tweet and replied with it as a quote tweet when someone in the replies to this tweet asked, what's post-cozy mean?
I chose that term because it's definitely related to the cozy game phenomenon and atmosphere in some ways, but we're not using a lot of the game design structures they tend to use, working to make money, growing something like a small business, farming, friendship point system, cozy combat really, and grinding, etc. But we have a very slice of life atmosphere and gameplay style. I feel like they have an idea of what cozy means as a genre, which it's not, and when we're not that, but we're it's like,
I don't know. I can see what they're saying. Like, I think every game that we've talked about so far, for news at least, has had those elements, right? Like, small business, farming, friendship point system. Cozy combat's such a, funny term, but I get where they're using it as far as, it's not, brutal. It's like you bop something with your little wooden sword and it poofs into a cloud, that kind of,
I guess my issue is more I agree but that's not what I would call cozy.
Sure.
Right, that's a specific kind of game, which I would probably say is a Stardew-like, but it's
or
not...
just like a life sim, or like a sim type game. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like the word. I think the cozy. I mean, first of all, game developers should not call their game cozy. That's not for you to decide.
That's true. You're right.
But if you're going to, right, I think it. I did see someone on TikTok complaining, and they were like, "Oh, you know that I presume you've seen The Good Place."
I've seen clips of it. I haven't actually seen it.
Okay,
though.
right. Well, so you'll probably have seen the meme, which is I have the notes from Eleanor's file, and he's like, "Oh, do you actually have them, or do you have a cactus?" And he's like, "No, I actually have it." And then they give it to, and it just turns out to be a cactus. And so they use that audio is used quite a lot, and they were using this audio, and it was like, I'm looking for a cozy game without farming in it, and it's like, oh, I have a cozy game without farming in it, and it's like, oh, do you actually have it, or is it a farming game, and then it turns out obviously to be a game with farming in it.
Yeah.
So I understand that there are a lot of that, and I totally understand. So I guess my point is I don't think that cozy and farming sim should be like, wedded together. I'm probably overthinking this.
I agree. I think that people immediately, when you say a cozy game, a lot of people's brains immediately go to like Stardew, because that is a lot of people's like initial experience with a quote unquote cozy game, which is just like, a game that doesn't require a lot of combat or like serious. I mean, to be fair, Stardew does incorporate a lot of serious topics, but in a on the deeper level, right? Like the surface level of it, where a lot of people mostly wind up staying, is that they're just like doing something somewhat not brainless, but like going through the motions, and it's comfortable, and it's not like something that is taking a ton of focus in the way that like a Twitch shooter is, or something like Valorant, or like League or something. And so to them in that regard, I guess it's like that's cozy, right? Like it's a relaxing game more than it is like a really high stress, obviously it can be very high stress, high energy if you are min-maxing everything and you're like super late in the game and you've got 18 billion things that are running and you have to, maximize your time and your money and everything. Like, obviously it gets to that point, but I think that can be said with probably any game, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I definitely get what you're saying. I think it's...
I probably get a bit too amped up about genre definitions and people describing their games. I understand it's complicated to explain them though, and like, sure, maybe I should cool out on that. I don't know, but anyway,
yeah.
You're excited about this.
We're in a world too where like it is so we have so many terms to describe so many things. As far as genres go in the gaming world, in like game development and stuff, that like I mean it's so hard to get like the Good Place joke that you made. Like, it's so hard to get a good idea of what actually is, so many people say, and I've been guilty of this too, saying like, oh, it's a Souls like, it's like Demon's Souls or like Dark Souls or whatever, but it's just like, it's hard combat, like the combat is hard, it's more challenging than like what maybe you're used to, but describing genres and describing games has become such an absolute dogfest that like, it's all kind of a joke at this point.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, I am excited about this because I like that type of game where it's, there's like story to it, and it's got really like pleasant look and feel to it, but there's definitely like, I don't know, mature-ish elements to it. Yeah. It's cute. I like slice of life stuff like this too, where it's like, it's a like Japanese housing complex and you're reviving a summer festival. Like, that's not, it's not like fantasy. It's not like, military, whatever. It's just life. It's just like, you're just living this alternate life, that's kind of something about that is fun to me.
So I think I do want more games that are life sims that aren't farming games. Like, I think that is a good thing. My problem is I think it's really difficult to get a good daily loop out of those, right? Because the thing about farming is it's so very clear what the loop is, right? You wake up, you do your farming, and then you can also do some other stuff, right? But it's very clear, like, these are the 4 things that I do every single day. I water my crops, I check if anything needs done with like any are ripe, and if so, replace them, and I check on my animals, right? Like, it's very clear the things that you do, and I think a lot of times if you don't have that core, this is the thing you do every day on top of everything else, I feel a little lost in games. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what they have as their, like, this is the thing that you do. If it's just like, oh, you do some stuff and you explore and you get to, and I'm just like, yeah, but I don't, why am I doing this, you know?
Yeah, I would guess it's my impression of it so far, at least, is it's much more story based than it is like cycle based or like daily rotation based. Because that is kind of what Boku no Natsu Yasumi games were. Is that it's a life sim, right? Like you're living out the daily life of this kid during their summer vacation.
Yeah.
And not every day is going to be the same because there's new things happening every day. Like one day you may have nothing to do, so you can go and catch bugs and catch fish and goof around and explore things. But then another day someone will come into town to sell something at the market, and they have an item that will lead you on this like little adventure to find something, and that I think to me is fun. The idea of like playing out this comfortable simulation of a life that is like not high stress, like it's not like high, like intense consequences and high stress. Like the whole premise of that is to just like the whole point of Boku no Natsu Yasumi was to the original at least was for adult men in Japan that worked office job, like soul crushing office jobs, to be able to relive their like childhood summer vacation with way less stress, way less pressure, way less so that I think that kind of idea of like you live this life that doesn't, there's little things in the game that are high stress and to a kid, but to as an adult it's like just such a comfortable little experience. I don't know. And there is a little bit more story structure to it than it is just like I'm doing the same thing every day. I'm doing the world grows as you live out your vacation. The world changes as each day is a little bit different. Some days are the same.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, right? Like to me, like a game is either like cycle based and you're doing like there's a clear like here's what you're trying to do, or it's like exploration based and it's like here's where you're trying to get to. And I guess I just struggle with games that is like, yeah, the story will happen and that's fine, but that's you're just existing sort of thing.
Right.
And I feel, I mean, maybe I could like these types of games. I just need to like force myself into trying one sometime properly.
Yeah.
But it's really hard for me to get into games sometimes, and I've talked about this before. I do game procrastination, where if I'm not like really into a game that I'm meant to be covering for the podcast, I will play no games. Like I won't replace. I won't be like, oh well, I'm clearly not playing this. I'll play something else. I will just not play anything, right? And I'll just feel guilty about it, which is silly. It's my brain just being silly, but it does mean that like it makes it harder to get back into it. And that has happened for many games before, but we'll see. I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about games like this, possibly in a future episode. No promises.
Maybe. Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see. No deadline on that one just now.
yeah. And we've talked a little bit about like Shin-chan games and stuff like that.
Yes.
Where that like that's exactly what it's. Millennium Kitchen. It's the same, but yeah, it's definitely something that you kind of have to. I think for me, the stressors of them is the idea that like I can miss something. That's the because there is stuff that you can miss. Like you can't do everything in one day. So the stress to me of like missing out on something that I then have to replay the entire game over again to experience is like that to me is the stressor. Whereas to other people it's not a big deal, but yeah,
fair.
So, but I am excited for this. I like the art style. I like the what they've shown so far. I went and followed all the like developers on their individual accounts just to like keep up with the development of it. it happens, because they post little like progress shots and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see. It looks cool.
And finally, I don't know how I haven't talked about this game already, because I thought I had, because it's like on my Steam wish list, but somehow like I searched through, I don't see any mention of it in the podcast. But this is Amber Isle, which is basically Harvest Moon, not Harvest Moon. I did that the same thing. Animal Crossing. I did the exact same thing you did earlier in the episode. It's basically Animal Crossing, but you're a dinosaur.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it feels like, right? Like you're running. You're you're not the mayor or anything, but you're like running a shop in a village on an island full of dinosaurs.
My brain had to like process this, because I know that you were saying Animal Crossing, but for some reason I was picturing like, oh, it's what was the dinosaur farming sim?
Paleo Pines.
Paleo Pines, that's right. When you were saying,
you are the dinosaur, not you have dinosaurs.
Yeah. Like,
very different.
Some of the art feels like the dinosaur models and stuff feel a little bit similar. Some of the like illustration feels similar. So my brain is like, oh, it's like Paleo Pines, but then it was like, but Animal Crossing. Oh, because you're the dinosaurs. But yeah, you're exactly right. That's what it feels like.
And they have announced that their release date is the 10th of October.
Looks really cute.
It does.
Becky loved Paleo Pines, so
really?
she loves Animal Crossing, as I said. So she will probably go bananas for this.
Cool. It's a shop-based one, and I'm always a little bit wary of shop-based ones, where it's like I have never enjoyed running a shop in a game.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I think. What's it called? Night Garden. Night Market.
Mineko's Night Market.
Mineko, that's what it is. Mineko's Night Market is the best shop. Mm-hmm. And I think that works well because it's like very limited. It's like once a week and you've got, this is your list, and it's like bam, 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 you're done. Whereas the idea of like restocking a shop and being there and like, it's just, oh no, none of that sounds fun to me. And none of them have been fun.
I think that same feeling for Fae Farm had like a little bit of that, where it's just like, you put your stuff on the table and then you leave. Like that is the extent of farm of like shop sim that I want. Like, let me drop my stuff off and leave, and then I never have to think about it again.
Yeah, well, that and then that's essentially not a shop. That's just your shipping bin in Stardew.
Right. Yes. Yep.
So it's like what we're basically saying is the ideal shop is not a shop.
Yes. Yep. You're right.
But I don't know. Maybe Amber Isle have cracked it, because like surely there must be a way to make it fun.
Yeah. I mean, it looks cute. Like I think that implementing some level of like it's Animal Crossing probably helps that for sure. Like interacting with your villagers, you know, as the shop owner probably is like, you know, helps that experience. But I guess we'll see.
I guess the problem, I think the problem I have with these is like you're having to balance time in the shop and time not in the shop. So games where you're entirely in the shop, they're great because you're just focusing on the shop, right? Like, what was it called? Lemon Cake. Did you ever play Lemon Cake?
I played a very little bit of Lemon Cake, but I watched people play Lemon Cake, like, you know, streamers and stuff play Lemon Cake.
I loved Lemon Cake, and that was great because it was like the shop was the point, right? This was the game. Whereas, you know, something like, for example, Ooblets added in a shop. And I tried that out and I was like, but I'm in here not doing other things, right? Like I want to be doing, like, this isn't, I want to be doing stuff with my Ooblets. I don't want to be selling stuff in this shop. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that balance. We'll see. Maybe it works if it's the only building you have, because then you're like, the design aspect that you would normally put into your house is instead put into your shop.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. So that's all the new games as well, and an hour and a half into the podcast, we're finally going to talk about.
I always feel sorry about.
Do not apologize. Funnily enough, we keep talking, Micah, because it's fun, right?
I just come on here and make you do, you know, triple the work you would normally do.
I am enjoying myself. I hope you are too.
Oh, I am.
And the listeners always like a long podcast. So we're not going to hit the record this time though, but maybe we will at our Game of the Year episode this year. Who knows?
Yeah. Hey, you put me
They're
on.
always- always long.
I can't stop yapping. So
Okay, so we're going to talk about Harvest Moon, Home Sweet Home. Do you want to talk about your thing first?
sure.
Does it fit in first?
Sure.
Why
I
Micah
started
hasn't
this
played the game.
conversation with. Well, okay, so I have played the game. I will say that I have played less of the game than I would have liked to play.
Yeah.
So I originally, when we talked about it, Al came to me as he usually does and says, "Hey,
Every time there's an
new
announcement of a Harvest Moon game.
There's a new Harvest Moon game. Do you want to experience it together and talk about it?" And I always say yes, of course, because I love putting myself through this every single time.
Maybe this time it will be different.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's the hope, right? Is every time we do it, we're like, well, they're getting better slowly. So hopefully, it's gonna, eventually it'll be like we finally have the episode where it's the Harvest Moon game that we love, and they've finally figured it out, and times are changing, and they're catching up to Story of Seasons and all this stuff because their little battle or whatever. So, of course, I wanted to take part in it. And when the game finally came out, I went to go get it, not realizing that it is an $18 mobile-only game. I mean, I knew it was a mobile-only game, but every mobile game that I have played in the last, I would say almost, I don't know, close to 10 years maybe at this point, has been, it's free to play, and then there's some element to it, right? There's some money-making aspect to it, whether it's gacha or ads or whatever. This is an interesting time where previously I would have loved for it to be you pay the price once and you get there's nothing else involved in it, right? But this was the one time that I've been able to remember where I've seen a price tag on a game, saw that there were no in-app purchases, and was like, but I kind of wish it was free and that there were in-app purchases, because I can make the conscious effort once I'm playing the game to not spend money on it, right? But I can't not spend money on it if I have to spend money on it in order to play it.
Yeah.
And it's $18 is a pretty hefty price. So my first thought was, okay, let me get a demo of it, right? Quote unquote demo of it. Let me see how it plays, because it came out on iOS and on Android, and I very legally played the game through BlueStacks, which is an Android emulator, just to experience it, right?
Yeah.
And I got a pretty good impression of it right away, and I was like, okay, this is actually kind of fun. I'm playing it on PC, so I'm playing with a keyboard and mouse, and I'm like, this isn't the greatest experience, but it looks pretty good. Not bad for the game. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, I paid $60 or whatever it was for Winds of Anthos, but I can spend $18 on this. The thought of being tied to my phone to play it was a little bit daunting, not exciting, but I pulled the trigger anyways, bit the bullet, bought the game on iOS, and started playing it on my phone. Before I realized that there was no gamepad support, no controller support. So
not none. There is one controller support.
Is there? What is the one
so,
controller support? Because I didn't know that this was a.
Yeah, so I was like, because I oh goodness, I have a whole story as well. So this is going to be fun. I bought it on Android first, and then it crashed on my phone, so I refunded it and bought it on my iPad instead.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, let me connect controller to it, right? So I connected up my Switch Pro controller to my iPad, and I was like, great. And I was in a conversation at the point, so I was like, okay, let me just advance through this conversation. It was working great, and then nothing else did anything. So you can advance the conversation with the controller.
Oh.
But nothing else. And I don't know why that works. Why does that work and nothing else does?
I did not know that. Uh, yeah, that's crazy. Because I'd gotten to a point where I played through it, and then I was like, okay, let me skip through some of the the intro dialogue, because I already saw all the intro dialogue on BlueStacks, right? I'm like, let me get through all
Yeah.
this, and then get to the actual game. And then when I did, I have it's called Backbone. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah,
this or
yeah, I've had
not.
one of those before. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little sandwiching gamepad. It's like, having little Joy-Cons that you strap to the side of your phone. Which is great. It's a great device. I use it a lot for other games, other mobile games that I played that require landscape view. Because the
Yeah.
majority of mobile games I play, that's the other thing, are at this point are portrait mode, right? Like,
Yeah.
if a game does not support portrait mode, I kind of do a little groan as I flip my phone on its side.
Yeah.
Just because it's I think about that and I'm like, that's weird. Why is it like that for me? Because I play games on my Switch all the time. I play, every other game landscape view. Why is it, that it's such a... But it's because the platform is so different. It's just become its own platform, and that, I'm expecting things to be able to function in portrait mode or function
But
with,
also,
whatever.
if you have something in landscape, it forces you to use two hands.
Right.
I think that's why it's annoying. Because
Yes.
in portrait, you can do most things with one hand.
Right.
But landscape, you can't even hold the phone with one hand
Right.
in landscape.
And that's the same can be said about any other game that you play, right? And that's where my internal struggle came into play, where it's like, well, I do that with the Switch. I can't hold it with one hand when I'm playing the side. I mean, I can, but I'm not getting the same kind of gameplay out of it or whatever. Like, I'm not actually playing the game unless I'm playing with both hands on the Switch.
Yeah.
But
It's
the platform
it's
has
much
evolved.
more active versus passive, the Switch, right?
Right.
That's
The platform, the mobile platform, has evolved to the point where you need to be able to you expect to be able to play it passively with one hand, right? Like, or in just in portrait mode in general. So, either way, I strapped the backbone to it and found out that I couldn't get it to work, and I was like, why is that the case? And then I googled it and saw, oh, there's no controller support, and I was like, okay, strike one. Strike two, technically. Strike one was I had to pay $18 for this to even just experience it, to decide if it was something that I was gonna like or not, which is a big ask considering the track record of Harvest Moon from Natsume at this point. So then I played through a good port. I played the majority of it just on my phone in landscape with both hands on it, whatever. Eventually I found that you can enable a virtual joystick, on-screen joystick, which was not the default setting. The default setting is that you tap somewhere and the character runs to that location.
Yep.
Which is very hard to play in landscape view with both thumbs on it, because you have to reach your if you want to go to the left or whatever, you got to reach your thumb all the way over to the I don't know. Just very poor controls in general. Once I added the on-screen joystick, that changed things. But then I thought, you know what? Why am I doing all this when I could be just playing it on my iPad, like Al? And instead of just playing it on my iPad and, just tapping on a bigger screen, I have the, whatever it is, the keyboard case, right? With the little trackpad. Because I use my iPad as my laptop. And I thought I could probably just use the trackpad as the, to click around on the screen and, point my character where I want them to go. And it'll feel much more like how it was playing on PC, which was, point and click, and mouse and keyboard felt more comfortable than playing at landscape on my phone. So let me try that. And lo and behold, it works. It's great. Here comes strike three. I boot up the game, and I'm like, oh, cool. Trackpad works. I can click around. It's great. I cannot load my game. And I'm like, why can't I load my game? That's weird. So I thought maybe because I had it open on my phone, I'll force close the app. Maybe it'll, update then, whatever. Still didn't work. It turns out that there's no cloud support for saves for the game.
There is no cloud save. Why is there no cloud save on this stupid game? I do not understand.
I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get it. I just don't get it. There are a couple things that are like, not just that, and this goes back to the price tag of it too. Like, why is it not part of maybe like Apple Arcade or something where like you pay the service fee, probably because it's also on Android, so that is a little bit complicated for what people are.
I mean, Android also have one.
For it,
they have a similar thing.
So why is it not included in that kind of service? Yeah. But in those services, I think it is expected to then that your save file is saved to the cloud for any Apple Arcade game. I think that's
expected from most people for most things anyway, right? Like yes. This is the thing that gets me is it's not even difficult, right? The cloud save stuff is so easy to do. Like you basically just say to Apple, here's my save, and they deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to do anything. They've just like not done that thing where they say what it is. And it's so frustrating. It's especially frustrating because you can play iPad and iPhone games on Mac now. Just install them in the App Store, like it's officially supported. Developers can opt out of that, but they have to like specifically opt out of it. And that's not opted out of. So you can install this game on your Mac and you can play it on your Mac, but it doesn't have cloud save. And so like this is the annoying thing for me is I started on my 13-inch iPad Pro, right? Because I was like, well, this is the one that kind of sits next to me during the workday. I'll have it here. It's nice big screen. And then, when I want to go and play it in front of the TV, I'll either get it on my Mac or I'll get it on my iPad mini. No, it's stuck on my iPad Pro 13-inch now.
Yep. Yeah, it's insane. And I think maybe the most frustrating part about this too is that we'll get to the like actual reviewing the actual gameplay shortly, I'm sure. But the frustrating part about this is that I know because of how the game plays, because of how it is set up, this is going to be on other platforms. They're going to release this on Switch, on
you think?
Xbox. I can almost guarantee it. Because the reason that I feel like that is because all of these things that are missing or are like, could have been implemented. It feels like they did the bare bones to get it published so that they could generate income from it to continue development on it to port it to other things. That's my guess. I could be wrong, but things like I had seen one person say that they opened their game and it was all in gibberish, and they found that it was but partially in French, and they found that it was because currently there are only 2 language options, English and German, I think.
Yeah.
But there are blank boxes for other languages, and one of the blank boxes was selected, which they think is probably going to be French, given that some things were in French, but it's not finished. So, and it doesn't exist as an actual like visible thing on the UI. So, I'm guessing also because of how much it just plays like a console game, just on a mobile device in a very like antiquated format. I feel like this is intended for console, and they are just it is not developed enough. Or maybe that was the plan originally and they just gave up and said, okay, close enough, what we can do with it is put it on mobile without all of the because it is a little bit easier to develop for mobile like publish on mobile platforms than it is on some other platforms. But I don't know.
It's an interesting one. I don't think I would be like super surprised if they did bring it to other platforms. Mm-hmm. But I'm not like, this is definitely happening. I guess we'll see. I have I have many things to say about this game.
Yeah.
But what? So I find it interesting. So before we get into the other stuff, so the mobile only thing, the price, the cloud save, all stupid things. Right? Cool, great, fun times. You were talking about the movement. I have a question for you. Do you know about the other movement option?
Okay, so I'm gonna read you, because this was something that threw me, and I think why I originally didn't realize that it was an option to have a like virtual joystick.
No, I don't mean that.
Screen.
I don't mean that. I mean the other option that you've not talked
Okay, so
about.
no, I only have two on phone at least. I didn't
You
look
don't.
on iPad.
Nope, you do not.
Okay,
You
all right.
have another one. It's
Okay.
just they don't tell you about it.
Oh, good.
So have you got the game open?
I am opening it right now so
Right,
that I
so-
can read these, because I wanted to read to you what the other one was, or the what do you call it? The like virtual joystick, they called it relative pad.
Yeah,
Which I
so
was
it's
like,
called-
what does that mean?
I know. It's
Why
movement
would
is
I have-
follow movement mode and relative pad mode. I understand why they've said those two things, but yeah, it's confusing. Okay, so yeah, I think the relative movement is like you put your finger down and then you move relative to where your finger was originally.
Right. It makes sense when you like really think about it, but on first read you're like, what could that what does that mean?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna blow your mind. Open up the
Okay.
map.
Is this the you tap on the thing and it auto runs for you?
Yes.
Okay, I do know about that. Yes.
Okay, you do know about that one.
I do know about that.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. That is great. That's a great
I want
like,
this
addition.
in every game now.
I do love it too.
It doesn't save the game, but I think it's fantastic.
I think that if I could use that in every scenario, this wouldn't be an issue for me. But the fact that like moving around your farm, moving around inside houses, you know, I still have to do the like stupid on-screen joystick or tap to do anything else, right? Like, and especially because you can tap to say you want to go talk to a villager, which is like that's my primary use for it has been. Oh, I have to. This is probably my greatest praise for this game that I can give is that they show you on the map where all of the villagers are at all times. It's a live view of where they're going, like what they're doing, and so you can just tap on them and just use that as your like checklist to go, okay, I have to talk to these people for my like daily interaction with them, and you just go right to them. And that's it. It's great. That's so much better than, any other experience. It helps you breeze through the social aspect of it really, really well. However, the drawback to some of that is that, or like the where it isn't as easy to use is that I can tap on somebody, and my character will start to run across the map to them. By the time I get to them, they may have moved, and now I gotta like.
It feels like you should be running to because you like specifically are clicking on a character, right? And it highlights the character, and like I see Christina, I click on it, it says Christina, I click run, and Christina's not there.
Right.
That's weird, and I'm not sure why they chose that. Like you would surely follow the character. Yeah, so that's not. But what I will also say is if you click on a house. And you run to that house, you walk into the house as well automatically, which is another great part of that. Like it's
great. Alternatively, if you tap on something inside the house, you cannot because you have to leave the house first.
Yes,
in order to, which is weird.
Yeah,
but
it's such an interesting mix of like really weird and really good ideas. I would say so. I think I would describe this game as the best Harvest Moon game since the split that I'm still probably not going to play.
Right. So, yeah, my like all of that was to say my take on this so far at least was that all of these like issues leading up to like figuring out how to play the game itself, I agree. I love it as far as a like a Harvest Moon farm sim, like new age Harvest Moon farm sim. It's really pretty good. Like it's an enjoy. Like I could see myself playing and enjoying this if it didn't take me so much effort to figure out the best way to play it. Like there was so much time put into figuring out how to play it in the most like comfortable setting that it took away so much from the actual game, like enjoying the game itself. And if it were just on Switch or Steam or PlayStation or whatever, and I knew I was going to pick up a controller or I was going to pick up my Switch or my Steam Deck or whatever and just play the game the same way I would play any other game that I would expect to be able to play this one, it would have been a great experience, and I probably would have really enjoyed it because they put it on such a weird platform and because it has so many weird developmental, issues, and there's so many control restrictions and things like that. It kind of ruined that experience for me, and I don't know that I would continue to play it. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just such a confusing feeling, you know.
I'm even up for playing it as they want, like on mobile devices. I'm up for that. I just give me cloud save, right?
Yeah,
and also, controller support. Like it doesn't feel like those are big asks.
No, I don't think it is. I think the controller support is like should have been an easy given, but that is, such a like common thing that games have controller support, that's what makes me feel like maybe there is a like it was unfinished and that's why they put it on mobile, because having touchscreen controls or whatever is way easy to bridge from the like development portion of it than it is to like map controls on a bunch of platforms or whatever. Like I don't know the reason. But
yeah, I guess that would also explain why it was like, because they announced this I think in July or maybe June, and they were like, oh yeah, we've got a new game, it's coming out in August, no more information. And that was weird.
Yeah.
And then they showed us basically nothing until the game came out. So I guess that would explain all of the weirdness around that. If you're right, which we'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's just, I did also have issues with crashing, like you would have, and I saw that that was a, I specifically had some issues with crashing on iPad, which I saw people also on iPad specifically had crashing issues. I also saw that Android has some pretty notorious, and they actually pushed a patch pretty quickly.
Yeah, so the Android one was pretty bad because the game just wouldn't launch. So right. I bought it on the day it came out, and I loaded the game, and nope, it didn't work. So I was like, that's weird. And I went back to the store and saw there was a refund button and went, yes, I'll do that then. And I'll go buy the one on iPad instead. Just part of the fun of my situation where I have an Android phone and an iPad, which means that I can't buy for both, which is annoying, but whatever. I will deal with that problem at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird.
It's just,
okay.
on the note of all that aside.
So on the note of things that are good about this game, I love that when you go to sleep, it shows you the calendar.
Yes.
When you load up the next day, it's like, oh, you see on the calendar and you see the thing moving across to the next day, and you can see someone's face on it if it's on their birthday. Or if, for example, I don't know if you've had this or not, but the shop had a sale one day, and so it showed that on the calendar as well. So like all the things that are happening shows up there. Absolutely fantastic feature. Every farming game should have that. I so bad at remembering these things, and I'm so bad at checking what was happening.
Me too. I agree.
And the number of times I would be like going in, like in Stardew or whatever, I'd go like, oh, I need to buy some stuff tomorrow. Great. and then you wake up and, oh, it's a festival day, so everything's closed. Whereas if you're seeing the calendar every single day, you see it moving closer to that festival, and you know, oh, if I'm going to need stuff on that day, I need to buy it now rather than wait till then.
Yes. Yep. I completely agree. I think that's great. I think the like how obvious they make things on the calendar too is nice. It's not, and I think it's the like simplicity of it, right? Like it's a pretty simple UI and simple calendar that it's not like there's if there's a 30% off sale at the store, it just says 30% off or like sale or whatever it says on the calendar. It's pretty like obvious and clear. It's simplified. It's not, anything crazy. So I don't know. It's really nice. It's really nice. That did bring up something for me though that I had a little bit of an issue with though was there are like quests. There's like side quests, right? Like what do they call them? They call them favors, I think. Where a villager will say, "Hey, I need X crop or whatever. I need 3 of whatever." And then you just that shows up in your menu in the like quest menu or whatever it is. And the way that it shows up is the quest, or who asked for it, what it is, and then an icon that has like a calendar thing, and it says 3. Or the first one that I encountered said 8, so I was like, oh, I have to do this by the 8th. That's in 2 days. So I better get moving, because I have to get, this crop that I haven't even started growing yet. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it. Probably not. And then I'm like, what is it going to do when I can't finish it? It's probably just going to go away, right? Well, it turns out that 8 is actually it's 8 days. It's 8 days for that thing to you have 8 days to do it. But it doesn't really make that clear, and it because of the like calendar icon, you think like, oh, it's the 8th, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. It just seemed like a weird thing to me that it like the the relative pad. There's just like little things that like aren't obvious enough. Like
There are, there's definitely a few things where it's like they're missing more information. So, like, for example, the icon for your relationship status with characters, it's music icons. They add more icons as you go. So it's like you start off with just one. So you have literally no idea how much it is, like what percentage of this am I doing? You just have no clue. Whereas Stardew, it like shows you the maximum number of hearts, so you know what you're getting to. It's like once you've got one, that's 1 out of 8 or 10 or whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. I just have no idea. Is this 1 out of 8 musical notes? Is it 1 out of 25? Is it 1 out of 4? I have no idea. So there's a bunch of things like that you're just like, I don't know what's happening here, and you're missing telling me some information for me to make an informed decision about my time.
Yeah, which is so interesting that like, then on the flip side you have things like you said with the calendar where it is like really obvious what's going on. Like, I don't know, just strange decisions for how certain things were developed, like how they implemented certain things that
it's like they have a different team working on different parts of the game, and one team actually has someone who knows how to design games.
Right. Yeah. That is definitely what it feels like. Or like, the teams are in completely separate, I don't know, not rooms, because I think everybody probably at this point is working remotely, but
yeah. They're not talking to each other.
They're in separate Discord channels, Nobody, and there's no conversation happening between it. I don't know, whatever it is, but yeah, there's definitely a miscommunication, which leads to then miscommunication to us, the player, and it's not as obvious what you're supposed to be doing or how something works. So, which when the initial impression of the game is, how do I find cloud save? Oh, it's not there. How do I find controller support? Oh, it's not there. How do I do that? I'm already anticipating that like something is wrong, or like I'm not reading something right, or like something is, like if I'm not reading it right, then it just must not exist.
Yeah. I mean, there's another example I've got as well. So there's a mechanic in this called happiness, which is where as you talk to people and you do things for them, you get more happiness. And it's like in the menu, there's like this little star jar and it fills with this sparkly liquid. And that's great. But what does it do? I don't know. I have a full star jar.
Okay.
I don't know what that did.
I was gonna ask you because I thought maybe I just didn't get far enough in the game. Because I also got a full star jar, but then I was like, oh, okay. My like, even not knowing what it did or what it does, my gripe with it was that like I had a full, when I only had a little bit left to go in my jar when I finished a day, and I had a bunch of happiness, and it filled the jar, but then it didn't stop. It just kept filling that one jar. So it felt like all of this extra happiness was going nowhere, like it was wasted or whatever. I was like, in my head, I'm like, okay, wait, no, fill the next jar. Like, I don't know what it does, but fill the next jar. I don't know.
I have a second jar now, and it's filling the second jar.
Okay. But you don't know what it does? Because I didn't.
When it filled the jar, and it was like, ta-da! And then it put that on a shelf and brought me a new jar, and that's all that happened.
Okay. I thought maybe I either missed something or like I just didn't get far enough.
Nope. So the description in the settings is: happiness is necessary to advance the story. It is increased through actions such as shipping and selling crops and items, talking to the locals and ordering gifts. However, it's easier to increase happiness through requests. Okay, great. All makes sense. As your happiness level increases, the villagers' opinion of you and the village itself will gradually change. Actively try to accumulate happiness. It's not really telling you anything. It's like, oh, things will happen. But nothing has happened. So I don't know. Like I was expecting it would do that, and it would be like, oh great, you've unlocked this thing. Like, kind of like the with the Stardew in the Junimo huts, like it would go, oh, you've unlocked this new part of the map.
Right.
But no.
And maybe it's that like, you just are so good at the game that like you haven't hit a like you've already passed the restrictions. But it's still not obvious what it is or what it does. Yeah. Or maybe it's, there's like some deeper thing for it that like once you get to it, then it's obvious. But I don't know, that
maybe
doesn't really give me a good idea of why I should be doing that or focusing on that thing. Like, especially in a game where time is limited. And your time throughout the day is you have to like manage that to focus on crops which also sort of an issue in my opinion, how like limiting it is to be able to do the things that you need to do, but that's a separate conversation. I think being able to see clearly things like that, like, oh, this favor says 8, and I think that it means by the 8th, which is in 2 days, so I'm going to spend the next day focusing on trying to make that thing happen any way that I can, and then I find out that I actually have 8 full days to do it. That is I just wasted a day, but it's not a whole day, but I wasted time. Or I'm focusing all of my days on like talking to all the villagers so I can fill up this happiness jar, but I don't know what it's going to do. And it, maybe it turns out that it really doesn't do anything, or the thing that it does is something that I didn't really care about or like would have not focused on, but I don't know that. So I don't know,
Yeah. This is a really niche thing around the request list, because we're talking about that. So there's 3 request lists, right? There's one which is like the story-based stuff. Mm-hmm. There's one which is things you need to upgrade. I don't know why that's not included in the story-based stuff, because you need to progress them to progress the story, but whatever. Right. And then there's the optional quests, there's the side quests, whatever. I can't remember what it was called either, because they did have a name, but it's not on...
I think they call them favors.
Yeah, but it's not on the UI. The UI doesn't tell you the name, which is weird. And those 3, there's no... This is such a small thing. There's no all list. But in every other thing they have, there's an all list, right? So like showing you all of it.
Right.
Like that is a thing in every other. So if you go to like the list of tips that you get, there's an all at the top, and then they have it broken down by things. Why is that not the same for quests? That's a weird decision. And especially then if you click on, this is getting even more niche, but this is particularly frustrating for me. If you then go into the upgrades request list, and if you don't have any active quests, so you've completed everything, it will auto select the first completed one and then show you on the right hand side what needs to be done, but that's already done. So you're looking at this list and you automatically assume, oh, I've got something to do, because it highlights something and shows you something, and then you realize, wait, no, I've already done that one.
Yeah.
That's such a niche issue. I have one more really niche complaint that later on when we talk about the farming stuff, but it's just lots of these little things that just make me annoyed.
Yeah, you know? And that's really what it is. It's like, a lot of little things that feel either rushed or like poorly communicated that make up the greater experience of like it feels incomplete or not as good as it could be, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Other minor point. There doesn't seem to be a setting to turn off the volume on the main screen. So if you load up the game, it starts blasting music at you until you load your save file when you've turned off the volume in the save file.
Okay. I mean, when I played on PC, I definitely had that issue, but I was unsure if that was just like, because everything on my PC launches at max volume, and then I have to turn it down, and it's always jarring. But I always had it mute, like my iPad or my phone muted when I would play, so it would, I had to like enable my volume in the first place.
Yeah, whereas like my iPad is like, I use that for like watching stuff on, so it defaults to just always having music, at a sensible volume. And I'm like booting up the game while I'm on a meeting at work or whatever, and it blasts out this music. I'm like, and then I click on the save and it turns off the music. I don't understand why, when there's only one save file on this whole game, why you would still have the volume on the main screen and there's no way to turn it off. Okay, right. Shall we talk about farming?
Yeah, I guess.
So, I learned something today. That will improve the farming as we go on.
Okay.
But they don't make it clear to you that this is a thing until after you unlock more farming plots. So the way this works is you have your standard grid and you tap on it to like hoe it. I don't know what, till it. There you go, that's the word.
Till it.
To till it. And then you tap on it again to sow a seed. You tap on it, you select a seed. I have a very niche complaint about that I'll get to in a minute. And then you tap it to water it, and then you tap it to fertilize it. Right?
Yes.
Pretty much kind of like it actually is not horrific. It works reasonably well for what a mobile game farming should work with. Right? Like I actually don't dislike that as a whole. But it feels like you should, what I've written here, which was what I thought was the case until literally 3 hours ago, it feels like you should be able to like tap and drag and get it to automatically do them, but that doesn't work.
Okay.
But that is actually a thing that apparently you unlock later.
Okay, but you unlock it later. Okay, so when I was trying to figure out something specific, I don't remember what it was. I was like, let me just watch somebody's video of them playing it and see. And I saw them doing it. I saw them clicking and dragging to like do the whole area. And I was like, I didn't realize I could do that. Because they show you that box, right? They show you a box that's like, it's 6 areas or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this. So then I started doing that, and I realized that I couldn't. And I was like, now why would I not be able to? Why would that be the case? And I just didn't know why. And I didn't know how to fix that. So I didn't like care enough. I was like, I'll just keep playing. There's already enough that I'm like fighting with this game about. I'll figure it out later. And I never did. So that's kind of interesting that it's it's just like locked behind a, I don't know, it's like time gated. That's weird.
Yeah, I think it's like meant to be for like you as you upgrade the tools, I think.
Sure.
I'm not 100% sure because I unlocked extra plots, right? So you start off with what size is this? 5x6 plot. And then as you progress the story, I guess this could be, it's possible that this is what the happiness meter unlocked. But I got like 2 more sets of plots, which are slightly bigger, I think. Oh no, they're 4 by, why are they different shape? 4x8. I have to do maths to figure out if that's bigger or not. 4x8 is 32, of course, and 5x6 is 30, so it's 2 bigger. Oh, this stupid game. So that might be what the happiness meter unlocked. I don't know, because it did happen after that. Anyway, so I'd unlocked it, and it was like, oh yeah, great. Here's this thing that you can do as well. You can click and drag to do it, but it still doesn't work. So I'm assuming, this might be a big assumption, but I am assuming that I have to do something else to actually unlock it. Why they would tell you about the feature when you still can't do it, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand why they. There's a lot of things about this that I don't understand, but it's definitely
Something.
It would greatly improve the experience right out of the gate too, right? Like, and I get that it's like, oh, maybe it's because it's not even really just that it's like time saving, right? Like in previous games, it would be like, oh, you save time by, you water everything at once, but it takes more stamina, but you still save time, so it's better in that way, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't save time. Like, you're still doing them one by one. Like,
yeah.
Nothing is changing. It's just that you are not physically tapping it. So
it's a quality. Yeah, it's just a quality of life improvement that they've gated behind progression,
and it's a quality of life on
anything else.
My end, right? Not the game, like not the game's end. It's just my like physical quality of life, I guess is.
Yeah, I'm not going to get RSI from holding my hand at a weird angle to tap on an iPad. Okay, right. So yeah. Other than that, I don't hate the farming. It's fine. One thing that's weird is that if you're constantly farming on the same soil, the quality of your crops goes down.
Yeah.
So you can't have you could have every single plot always farming, but your crops won't be as high quality.
Right.
And I get what they're doing with that, but also, please don't do that. I just don't like it.
I don't like it either. This is. I did not get very far into that, but I did see, that like when you get to a certain point, you unlock like larger plots. Not just larger plot. Yes, larger plots, but more plots, and they're like all spaced out on the hills above your house or whatever, right? And so that's cool. Like, I like that idea, but then it gets into you have to start rotating your crops across those, so it's like a deeper. And maybe some people love that. I don't know. Me personally, I can't see myself enjoying that in a situation where I'm already like really having to pay attention to like time management and like resource management and stuff like that I then also have to worry about whether or not I'm rotating my crops and how quickly the soil is depleting for the specific crop that I'm using or whatever it is. It just seems like an added thing that's not like a fun addition.
As with every simulation game, you have to make a balance of what is realistic and what is fun. And it's a difficult balance to do. And I think that crop rotation, soil rotation, is too close to the real rather than the fun.
Yes.
Personally.
I would completely agree with that. I don't know, maybe, like I said, maybe some people really love that idea and they think it's a cool new addition, but I just, to me personally, and it
Maybe
sounds
they
like
do.
to you as well, it does not sound like a fun aspect of it.
Nope. No, it does not.
I do like the idea of talking about the crops, how they have. You maybe know a little bit more about this than I do because I've only like touched the surface of it, but the when you sell like high quality crops, you sell enough of them, then they become shoot, I forgot what they were, what term they used.
Oh, yeah, they love inventing these terms, don't they? Yeah, I haven't actually experienced that, but yeah, it like increases how much you can sell them for, I think, is what it does.
Yeah. See, but it's when you sell enough of them, then like the crop overall, I think, then increases in value, right? So like if you sell enough, there's some term that it's not like prestigious or
This
something. I don't know.
it's like when in I guess probably Winds of Anthos and the other one, what was the one before that called? The really
I
weird
should
one.
know this, but I don't.
Something of something. One World.
One World, that's it. Not
So I
something of
think in
something.
both of them, because they were like focused on crops don't exist anymore, we need to like bring them back.
Yeah.
After you shipped a certain amount, you could then buy them in shops. So it's kind of, I think, trying to do the same mechanic but in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's a cool idea, but it doesn't make me go, "Oh, I must now put 100 hours into this game."
Right. Like, it's a neat way to solve the problem of, like, we have a limited amount of crops and things that you can grow, but you still need to improve, like, how to make money without having to go down the road of, like, min-maxing, fertilizer and, I don't know, whatever. Like, min-maxing how you're growing the crops, just that, like, if you continue to grow the crops and you get enough good ones, then you will increase the amount that crop is worth directly. Then if you want to go a step further and do, more.
I think Coral Island did it best, where how that works is one of the late game upgrades is increasing the quality of all the crops you grow.
Yeah.
And it was just it's just another unlock, and you do it based on the same of all your other unlocks.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was the best.
Yeah. They also did mutations in a neat way where it's like also sort of passive, which like that can happen. That has happened before, but it seems a lot more common now. At least in my experience, maybe this wasn't your experience, but I feel like the majority of the time when I grew something, I got a mutation of that crop. So like,
yeah,
I grew carrots for the first time, I got black carrots right away. I grew cabbage for the first time, I got dome cabbage or whatever right away for the first time.
Yeah, same.
And that's kind of neat in that like it there are aspects of it that like at least in the early game make it a little bit more easy to find things that would otherwise be hidden in like later portions of the game in other farm sims or like previous Harvest Moons or other Story of Seasons, stuff like that, that you get to experience pretty early. But yeah, I agree with you that there is there have been other better ways to do how the like improving the crops. I don't know. I just think that they're good like bare bones features to improve that experience, right? Without like adding a ton of stuff. But then they do something counterproductive like forcing you to rotate your crops, which is like, what are we doing? What are we especially in a situation where I don't mean to go back to the like rotating crops. It's just thinking about it, like especially in a situation where like in a game where things are not growing at the same time. So like you really then have to start maximizing what you're putting where. And I'm a big, I have minor and in specific ways, but I have, diagnosed OCD where like there are things to me that like I love to be able to like plant all of the same crop in one area or whatever, and this kind of prevents me from doing that by having to like, and that just is makes the experience less fun for me when I can't, like, it's forcing me to do something that is so, like, arbitrary and isn't giving me any kind of, like, direct benefit for anything. It's only
there's no
giving me
benefit
a
at all.
negative.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the problem. If it gave you something else, like, it'll just be default, if you keep farming, but if you crop rotate, then things will get better. But things get worse if you don't, rather than the other way around.
Right. Like, let me just, I don't know.
I think they're clearly not listening to us, right? Because we've been doing this now for like 4 years, and we keep giving them suggestions on how to make their games better.
Yeah. The options are there, If they would just if they just tune in once to one Harvest Moon episode, maybe they would catch wind of
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think, again, all that being said, like we said earlier in the review portion of this, it is, I think, the best farm sim that they have done so far as like focusing on the farming and there's not a ton of, like, one world was had these mechanics of, like, hopping from location to location, right? And you're jumping, and Winds of Anthos did that too, where it was like you're constantly changing your location, where that has not really ever been a big thing in farm sims, and it was a neat thing for them to try to do, but ultimately didn't feel like it worked. And I think that this is their best attempt at that, like, classic farm sim where you have your home base, you have your farm, you're working on your farm, and building up your base, and you're communicating with the villagers, and you're growing friendships and so on. So, like, it's just the classic farm sim, right? And this is the best that they've done with that so far, I think. And I would just have loved to be able to experience it in a better way, like, from the start.
Yeah.
I think if I had just been able to boot it up on my Switch, this would be a completely different conversation. I mean, I would still notice all of the other things that we've noticed, but I don't know. It's weird Natsume decisions.
Yep. I don't really know what to say anymore, right? Like, I think I've got other things listed. I didn't play the fishing, the tree chopping and the mining. You have to tap every single time. Why can't I just, like, hold it, at the very least hold it, and it will do that? Like, there's so much in this game that's, like, good, and there's so much that's bad, and it's, I don't know. Yeah.
There's also a lot of time-based limitations early on, too. Like, things take up so much of your stamina. Or not time-based, stamina-based things early on, like, limitations early on. Like, things take up so much of your stamina. Like, I mean, like, chopping down one tree takes, like, an entire heart. And then chopping down the trunk of the tree takes, like, another half a heart or whatever. Like...
So that's that's the thing I was thinking about. So you were talking about how, like, they called it, I need to double check what the name of this was. Repeated actions. That's what they call the thing where you, like, drag and swipe and do the same thing over and over again.
Okay.
Repeated actions. The thing about the repeated actions is, as you said, it doesn't actually improve anything. You're not, like, reducing the amount that you have to, the amount of energy it takes, etc. But I'm guessing that as you upgrade the tools, you get their standard thing there where everything is slightly less. But this is where you've essentially got the same. You have to do two things to get the advantage here, right? So you have to upgrade your tools to get less stamina, and then you also have to upgrade your hearts, because you can get more hearts, but then you also then have to upgrade this to give you the repeated actions as well. And
right.
It feels like you should only have to do one of those things.
Yes, I agree. And the other one is just really pointless and not needed. It doesn't really add much of a benefit, but yeah, I agree. It's just it's like creating limitations for the sake of creating limitations so that you can implement what seems like the illusion of more later, right?
Yeah.
Which doesn't feel very genuine as far as like progression through the game goes.
It feels very mobile game though.
It does.
I'll give them that.
Yeah, it does.
It may
and
not have in-app purchases, but it feels like a mobile game.
And not an $18 mobile game either. That's like I don't know. The thought of paying like $18 for a console game or a PC game, right, is like, okay, that's pretty cheap. But the thought of paying $18 for something that I can only play on my phone is a very hard ask.
Which would probably be an easier ask if you could cross-save and play it on your iPad as well.
Right.
And with a controller. Like, it's tiny things that make it feel much better.
Yeah.
Because I don't think $18 is ridiculous. Now, I do think that we've been conditioned to think that it's ridiculous for mobile games, because that's, mobile games aren't valued.
Oh, yeah,
right?
For sure. And that's kind of what I would say, like, that's how the platform has evolved, in that, you expect to play things and be able to play things in portrait mode with one hand, or you expect that it's free and then you pay for something in the game, which is not a great experience either, right? No. Like, but it's kind of the expected experience. And because that has been the experience for so long, I think me and many other people have found the way to navigate that, in being that you play the free portion of it and you don't spend money on the rest of it. Like, and you just kind of expect that's what's going to happen, right? Like, or if you like it enough and you want to support it, then you do pay, you buy a pack of something or whatever it is, you buy the thing to disable ads or whatever it is. And you kind of tailor the experience yourself, where there's no option for that, in this. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I understand that we've been conditioned to expect certain things, but like, because that expectation is set now and we've adapted to it in a way that makes sense, having to then go back to the old ways of like paying what feels like an exorbitant amount for a mobile game is kind of hard to swallow, I guess. And I think that sentiment is echoed a lot in the replies to a lot of the stuff that they post too, which I think for anything people are going to say that's too expensive, but you see it much more for this than you see it on a lot of other things, especially for an $18 price tag rather than like I don't know, a $30 price tag or something like that. Also, there are a lot of mobile games that are incredibly good. Like, I've come to expect now too that like there are a lot of really great mobile game experiences, but what I'm paying for typically for those are things like Apple Arcade or whatever the Android equivalent is, like Fantasian, incredible JRPG that was on mobile. It's finally coming to consoles now, but just a like masterpiece in visuals, in like, because it's made by some of the like greatest JRPG developers of all time, and it's a great game. It came out on Apple Arcade. It was a great experience. You could play it with controllers, all this stuff. Like the Hello Kitty Island Adventure, actually a good game. And a mobile game.
Also coming to Switch.
There's the Tamagotchi game, which is very similar to Hello Kitty Island Adventure. Beautiful game, really well done. So there are games like this where it's like, I could expect it to, be worth worth the money or worth the value if it's in that same setting, but when it's not a part of these programs that like have been kind of like the standard for what to expect good games to be in on mobile, and it's not it's not part of that program, and it's also $18, and you don't find out till later, like there's no controller support, there's no cloud save, like all of these things added up, it just really takes away from that experience. It really makes it not worth the money.
Yeah.
It feels very antiquated. It feels like it's, kind of behind on the times in the way that they're handling at least the mobile release of this. And I swear there's going to be a console. I promise. I don't know. Maybe they'll listen to this and be like, abort it. Shut it down. That one guy said it was going to be a console and we can't let him win.
Yeah.
No, I don't, my expectation is that they're going to do, once they have enough time to like finish it and polish it and add controller support and multi-language and all this stuff and develop it, like add the necessary development time for the different platforms and release it on multiple platforms and stuff, I think it may see a release on consoles, but who knows?
Look, I mean, I won't be angry with that if they port all those changes to the mobile release as well. Like,
right.
Give us the controller support and
right.
all these things. Like, fine. If you do a console release as well, fine, but give us all the stuff on mobile as well, right? Like I will be angry if they don't do that.
Yeah. I will say that with the like caveat that I will also be angry that it just didn't release. They didn't just wait to release it on console first, or at least be like,
yeah,
like coming to mobile on this date and then coming to other platforms later,
yeah,
because then I can make the decision to not spend the $18 on a 18 USD on an app that's tied specifically to my phone or my iPad and nothing else.
Yeah,
and just wait for a version that I can play comfortably. I don't know. So,
all right, well,
we'll see what happens.
Thank you for joining me to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
I've got another bullet point, which is character/story, and I'm not. No.
I got one thing to say about that.
Okay, go for it.
People are very mean or very early in the game.
Yeah.
NPCs are not nice to you.
Am I trying to, romantically follow the mean girl? Yes, I am, because that's just what I do.
We're one and the same,
That is what I did my first Stardew run. That's what I'm going to do this one as well.
When I walk up to her and she just says, "Stop talking, get away from me," I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. She at one point said, what do you even do on your farm? And I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
There's a bit where you talk to her and she's like, why do you have time to talk to people? It's like, you should be working. And I'm like, what? You have this whole conversation trying to explain to her about how actually, no, it's okay to not spend your entire life working. It's such a bizarre. I feel like it's maybe they're leaning a bit too hard on the mean girl aspect of things. I don't know.
Yeah, there's also something weird about like when she's like, "Go away, don't talk to me." I'm like, I should respect that, but like, the game requires me to build up a friendship with you.
Yeah, fair.
I don't know. It's just, but everybody was just so like, not everybody, obviously, but like the old couple was the old man specifically very mean. Also, Stardew did the same thing. The guy by the cave, very mean. The
very mean. Why is he so mean?
Very mean. They're just, they're real mad. And I get that it's like you got to turn them around to, sell them on yourself. But man, it really makes me not want to talk to them.
Yeah, so mean.
But that's all. That's all I got for characters. I don't really have anything else.
That's
obviously didn't get crazy far in the game, but
Okay, I'm going to try that again. Thank you for joining me to talk about yet another Harvest Moon game.
Hey, anytime.
Maybe the next one will be it. I don't know. We'll see.
Hopeful. They keep making them. I mean, they got to be selling because they keep making them. I don't know if it's a front for something or what, but they keep making them. They're still in business. So as long as they keep making them, I'll keep trying.
Yeah.
And we'll keep talking about it.
We will keep talking about it. You're not wrong there. Where can people find you on the internet, Micah?
You can find me on pretty much anywhere at Micah the Brave. I'm mostly spending my time on Instagram right now, I think. Not a huge fan of Threads, but Blue Sky is kind of neat. But there's not a lot of people there. So if you're on Blue Sky, come find me there, I guess. I'm still on Twitter, but I don't want to be. Which I think is everybody's sentiment at this point.
I basically just use it to follow all the farming games that refuse to be anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so I pop onto it, and like every so often there's just, oh, here's a Micah tweet.
Yeah, it's like a, necessary evil at this point for some things. Like some of the stuff I do for work, I kind of have to like keep up with on there. But yeah, I don't. If I don't need to be, then I won't be, and that time may be coming soon. So, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, I guess sometimes. I also have a YouTube channel that doesn't have anything on it yet. And I have a Twitch channel that has not been touched in a long time, but may again soon. But anywhere you go, you can find me at Micah the Brave. Micah the Brave. That's it. That's my pitch.
You can find me on mastodon.scott, and for some reason still on Twitter, at the Scottbot. You can find the podcast on Tumblr and also on Twitter at thspod. You can send us feedback from our website, harvestseason.club, and also find links to everything to do with the podcast, including a link to our Patreon, patreon.com/thspod, where we have Slack, and we also have a lot of bonus podcasts. I haven't done any recently, the last month or so, but we will be having lots very soon. So keep updated there. Yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you, Mike, again for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, listeners, for listening. And until next time, have a good
harvest. Or have a good cozy. Have a good cottage.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode. I once heard that someone who podcasts who says that whenever there's something that he wants to edit out the podcast, he'll just like go rah into the record, and it's like, okay, I get what you're doing, right? Because that's very visible in this, but like, I feel sorry for your co-host.
Yeah.
It's like you'll just be talking about something and you'll like say something and you'll fumble over your words and you just go ah, and then keep talking. It sounds terrifying.
It's pretty funny.